This is Smart Pizza, and in today's hour-long episode, I'll tell you about the most dangerous and creepy insects to stay away from. You'll see the most venomous and giant spiders, and you'll learn which insects carry disease and pose a serious danger to humans. I'll show you terrifying insect invasions, bug fights, and incredible ancient giant insects that fortunately are now extinct. Giant huntsman spiders. The giant huntsman spider is considered to be the largest spider in the world in terms of leg span, as its limb span can reach 30 centimeters in length. The giant huntsman spider got its name because, unlike other spiders, it gets its food exclusively by hunting. The giant huntsman spider is quite large and can move very quickly, and therefore does not create webs to catch its prey. Indeed, the giant huntsman spider ambushes or runs after its prey to finish it off. These spiders feed on small insects, arthropods, small frogs, and lizards. Most often their prey is flies, so for humans, giant huntsman spiders can be considered quite useful creatures. But their repulsive appearance and ability to painfully bite offenders make them rather unpleasant neighbors. Larger species of this family are sometimes called tree spiders. Most often they live in forests. Most species of this family live in South America and Africa, but in recent years they also appear in places where they've never been seen before. For example, in the children's room of the most ordinary house in the U.S. state of Michigan. Giant huntsman spiders in the children's room. The lady of the house, who unexpectedly encountered a spider in the room of her 2-year-old son, could not believe her eyes at first. She thought it was a ball of wire or a ball of dust. When it turned out that the ball, larger than her palm, was alive, she panicked. Throwing a big heavy box on the spider, she rushed to call her husband and parents. The spider managed to get out of the house, but it was necessary to figure out how such a giant could even be there. She decided to take the spider to the local exotic animal center for examination. The experts found out that the Australian huntsman spider was sitting on the floor in the children's room. It doesn't live in the US, which means that it came in the house by accident, probably in a package of tropical fruit. Fortunately, the Australian huntsman spider is not dangerous for humans. However, its bite can cause an allergic reaction. But is this comforting news to the homeowner? What if the spider's not alone in her house? Mouse spiders. There are 11 species in the family called mouse spiders. 10 of them live in Australia and 1 in Chile. These spiders were originally named because of the mistaken belief that they, like mice, are capable of digging deep burrows. But later it was affirmed that the reason of this name is hairy abdomen of the spider, resembling a mouse from afar. The size of these spiders is not large. They reach from 1 to 3 centimeters in length. So why are they included in this episode? The matter is that these species are one of those about which they always forget to warn in the guides. Usually, mouse spiders live near water and spend most of their time in the burrows. In recent years, however, they've increasingly crept onto roads and garden plots where they roam for no apparent reason. Travelers to Australia and Chile should be extremely careful when walking along the roads. The venom of mouse spiders is quite toxic. When ingested, it has an almost immediate paralytic effect on the nervous system. For some people, such a bite can lead to serious problems. On the other hand, an antidote to mouse spiders was invented long ago, and not a single fatality has been reported in the last 10 years. Huntsman. And here is another unexpected appearance of a huntsman spider, this time in Japan. The author of the video does not believe that this is possible, but you can't fool the camera.
That is so scary. Oh, yuck.
The spider must be gotten rid of, but the operation clearly doesn't go according to plan. As a result, the spider disappears into the hallway, and the landlady is already on the verge of hysteria. However, the guy who was called to help doesn't give up. Passing the camera into the hands of one of the bystanders, he goes in search of the intruder and eventually catches it under one of the cabinets. It will seem cruel to many that the spider had to be killed, but the guys had no other choice. The huntsman spiders are usually too swift to catch them in bowls and boxes. But the author of the video got a unique opportunity to show the spider close up.
Sorry, guy.
Admit it, you wouldn't agree to share an apartment with such a neighbor either. And the next spiders are out of the question. you want to stay as far away from them as possible. Stay tuned to see a big spider that likes to live in basements and behind walls, learn about venomous Brazilian spiders, and also see the biggest spider in the world, which even got listed in the Guinness Book of Records. Let's move on. Brazilian black tarantula. Gramastolo anthracina, also known as the Brazilian black tarantula, is really striking for its size. Body length of an adult is from 18 to 16 centimeters, and its leg span is from 7 to 10 centimeters. It lives in Paraguay, Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina. It's very popular among the fans of exotic pets because of its beautiful black fur with a metallic tint. And this despite the fact that long hairs on legs and torso of Brazilian black tarantula can cause irritation when contact with human skin. Cardinal spider. The cardinal spider, also known as the Tegenaria peritina, is the largest spider in Great Britain. Like many other spiders from this episode, it has a small torso, which is from 1 to 3 centimeters long, but the length of its legs are truly impressive and can exceed 6 centimeters. Cardinal spiders prefer to live in the neighborhood of people, so they can often be found in garages, basements, or behind walls. According to a legend, this spider got its name because Cardinal Wolsey was terrified by this species at Hampton Court. However, except for the terrible size and terrible appearance, these spiders do not do any harm to humans. Their bites are painless because the venom is not dangerous for us. But for those that have such giants settled in the house, harmless bites are little consolation, especially considering the fact that the female of this species can live for up to 8 years. Banana spiders. Banana spiders are a genus of large spiders that weave the world's largest webs. Like many arachnids, they're also known by other names: golden silk orb weavers, golden orb weavers, and giant wood spiders. Of course, they spin no gold. One of the spiders' names is due to the unusual color of their body and web. The bright golden yellow color attracts flies to their webs, which are the main prey of these giants. They reach from 1 to 4 centimeters in length, but their leg span reaches 12 centimeters. An encounter with a banana spider in the wild can be quite frightening for the inexperienced tourist. However, you shouldn't panic. The temper of this arachnid is quite peaceful. It will attack only if it feels threatened. The venom of spiders is strong but not lethal for humans. The bite causes pain, redness, and blisters that usually disappear during the day. But the strength of the web of this genus is really impressive. Large nets are capable of catching and holding even small birds. Not surprisingly, locals sometimes use banana spider's web as fishing nets. Colombian lesser black tarantula. The Colombian lesser black tarantula is a very large and unusual spider. It lives in the humid rainforests of South America. The spider spends most of its time in underground burrows. The Colombian lesser black tarantula eats insects and small vertebrates. The species is known for its close cooperation with frogs. How could this happen? Colombian lesser black tarantulas are quite capable of taking care of themselves as long as they lead their usual life in a burrow and hunt at night from ambush. But everything changes when the time comes to breed. Scientists believe that the tarantula has learned to enter into a symbiotic relationship with the dotted humming frog. To protect its clutch, the spider settles a frog in its nest. It devours ants and other small insects, thus protecting the tarantula's eggs. The frog, in its turn, gets a personal bodyguard, which protects it from snakes, lizards, and large amphibians. However, the tarantula remains a tarantula and, sometimes forgetting itself, can eat its companion. Brazilian salmon pink bird-eating tarantula. The Brazilian salmon pink bird-eating tarantula is one of the largest spiders in the world. Its body length reaches 10 centimeters and leg span 25 centimeters. Fortunately, like many other spiders, this tarantula does not tend to attack thoughtlessly. Feeling threatened, it first of all lifts its legs high, trying to frighten the offender. If this doesn't help, the spider bites. Besides poisoning by venom, which is injected through the wound, the spider can cause serious mechanical damages, because the length of its jaws can reach 2.5 centimeters. Another method of protection is combing off the special hairs located on the abdominal side with its paws. Once on the skin, these hairs cause severe irritation and itching, and if they get into the eyes, blindness can occur. Black widow. The black widow is one of the most famous species on the planet. At the same time, it's one of the most dangerous spiders. These spiders can be easily distinguished by a red hourglass-shaped spot on the underside of its abdomen, as well as by red spots near the spider's warts and on the back. The length of these spiders is very small, but the size does not prevent them to be more dangerous than even some snakes. It's believed that the venom of the black widow is 15 times stronger than the venom of a rattlesnake. The only consolation is that the black widow is not aggressive. It bites only in self-defense or in a hopeless situation. If, for example, you crush the spider with your hand, it'll bite you. The black widow bites are dangerous. They cause a painful condition known as lectrodectism. An hour after the bite, the neurotoxin spreads through the victim's lymphatic system, followed by painful abdominal muscle cramps, vomiting, profuse sweating, and thirst. But contrary to popular belief, the mortality rate from a black widow bite is quite low. There have been only a handful of such cases ever recorded. As for the black widow bite, with proper treatment, the disease usually ends in complete recovery. Katipo. It's believed that the most dangerous spiders on the planet live in Australia. In many ways, this is true. But in neighboring New Zealand, you can come across no less dangerous and creepy creatures. The Katipo is one of them. It's a species of spider of the black widow spiders genus. First of all, the Katipo is of interest as a species which is on the brink of extinction. The spiders themselves seem to understand this, so they live in shelters, inhabiting sand dunes near seashores. They weave intermittent triangular webs among the dune vegetation and other thickets and prey on sand-dwelling insects. In addition, the Katipo are interesting as very dangerous creatures. In Maori, the Katipo means night stinger. This is the whole point of these spiders. They do attack at night, and not only, and they bite painfully. Their bite is venomous and a threat to humans. According to Maori, these spiders used to kill lots of aborigines. Nowadays, the Katipo rarely bite humans. These spiders are not very aggressive, and their numbers are not large. Still, it's better not to mess with them because, as in the case of black widows, the bite of the Katipo is fraught with lectrodectism. Chilean recluse spider. Despite its name, the Chilean recluse spider is not only found in Chile, it can be found in many countries of South Africa, from Peru, Ecuador, and Argentina to Uruguay and Brazil. It's one of the largest recluse spiders. The spider usually grows from 1 to 4 centimeters in length. Large enough size is only one of the intimidating features of the spider. The second feature is its strong bite, thanks to which the Chilean recluse spider is considered one of the most dangerous arthropods on the planet. Its bite is very painful and feels like a cigarette burn. Though death is rare, the bite of the Chilean recluse spider can cause a variety of symptoms, from skin irritation to necrosis. It takes many months to treat such a bite, and in 3 to 4% of cases, the bite of the spider is fatal. No wonder that the Chilean recluse spider is considered the most dangerous among all recluse spiders. By the way, some scientists believe that the most dangerous recluse spider is another arthropod. After all, it's also venomous, but its bite doesn't feel like a cigarette burn. You won't even feel it. Stay tuned to see this spider, learn about the arthropod that got listed in the Guinness Book of World Records, and to see the most dangerous spider in the world. Brown recluse spider. The brown recluse spider shows with all its appearance that it's extremely dangerous. The appearance of this spider can scare 7 bells out of you. Of course, it's difficult not to be horrified by an arthropod with these paws, but this spider is dangerous because of another thing: the powerful venom. The venom of the brown recluse spider poses a threat to human health, causing loxoscelism, which is manifested in skin necrosis and a number of other extremely unpleasant symptoms. It's worth saying that the venom of this spider attacks the red blood cells of the victim, which leads not only to tissue necrosis, but also to the disruption of internal organs and sometimes even to death. The bad news is that the bite itself may not even be felt. There are many treatment options for the consequences of the bite, acting with varying degrees of effectiveness, but scientists have concluded that in most cases the diseases are cured without any medical intervention. In general, the brown recluse spider is an extremely unpleasant creature. You should know that these spiders live in the United States, but sometimes they get out of America thanks to the mail. These spiders are picked up in boxes and parcels in post offices and leave to travel the world. Six-eyed sand spider. The six-eyed sand spider is also called the six-eyed crab spider. It lives in the Namib Desert in Africa. Also, these arthropods can be found in South America. Interestingly, this creature can be called a living fossil because it had inhabited Africa and South America when these continents have not yet separated. Curiously, the spiders that live in the Namib Desert have more concentrated and stronger venom than their congeners that occupy the west coast of South America. Nevertheless, an encounter with any of these subspecies of spiders can end tragically for humans. If we take into account the dry statistics, this spider can be called the most deadly on the planet. There were recorded only 2 cases of attacks by humans on six-eyed sand spiders, and both ended in death. Their venom is dangerous to humans because of its powerful necrotic effect. It spreads rapidly through the body and affects tissues. In addition, the venom can destroy red blood cells, causing oxygen deprivation. At the same time, the spider is very fearful and shy. It avoids people, and therefore the probability of meeting it is very low. Australian Black Widow. The spider, which lives in Australia and has the word widow in its name, is a real combo. It's immediately clear that it's extremely dangerous, and so it is. Australian black widows are some of the creepiest and most dangerous spiders, not only in Australia but in the whole world. They're small in size, females grow to a centimeter in length, males are 2 to 3 times smaller. Nevertheless, their tiny size does not prevent them from being real monsters. Found almost all over the country, Australian black widows can boast of strong neurotoxic venom. The bite of this spider may not be felt, but it's impossible to miss the symptoms that its venom causes: increased sweating, vomiting, weakness, and severe muscle pain. If any of these symptoms occur, you should see a doctor immediately. Fortunately, an antidote was invented in 1956, and no more deaths from the bite of the spider have been reported since then. But the bad news is that recent studies show that the antidote does not reduce the pain, so the bitten person will have a hard time in any case. Brazilian wandering spiders. Brazilian wandering spiders are unusual creatures because they're one of the few spiders that got listed in the Guinness Book of World Records. Their title is very sonorous, the most venomous spiders on the planet. This is the case when the appearance and abilities of the spider are both frightening. Some individuals can boast 15 to 20 centimeters long legs. Although not all Brazilian wandering spiders are so large, it doesn't matter because all of them are extremely dangerous. By the way, they're called wandering ones because they have no permanent range or habitat. They're found everywhere in the tropical zone of South and Central America. Also, you can find them in the US where they get in luggage and cargo. The abilities of these spiders are amazing. Their bites so strong and venomous that they can cause muscle paralysis, which can lead to asphyxia and respiratory failure. In other cases, the result is allergies, intoxication, pain, and visual impairment. Fortunately, there is an effective antidote for the venom of this spider, and in most cases, bites don't end with the death of the victim. Nevertheless, do not underestimate the most venomous spider of the planet, which is also deservedly considered one of the most dangerous creatures in the world. Sydney funnel web spider. Australia is home to many of the most venomous animals on the planet. One of them is the Sydney funnel web spider. This species of spider lives only in New South Wales. It's found south of the Hunter River, east of the Blue Mountains, and around Sydney. Although this spider is only about 5 centimeters in length, it's incredibly dangerous. The Sydney funnel web spider is very aggressive, fast, and venomous. Its long fangs are so strong and long that it can easily bite through not only the skin but also through fingernails. This spider attacks immediately and fiercely. Before attacking, it shows a frightening pose, raises its front legs, and demonstrates its fangs. It's merciless to its offender, so it bites with lightning speed and sometimes does it several times in a row. But even one bite is enough to kill a victim. Between 1927 and 1981, 13 people were killed by these spiders. Fortunately, after an antidote was invented in the 1980s, no one has died from the bite of the Sydney funnel web spider. Nevertheless, such a scenario is quite possible if the injection of an antidote is delayed. Among other unpleasant consequences of the encounter with this spider are limb numbness, muscle twitching, shortness of breath, and salivation. In certain cases, the victim may even go into a coma. No wonder this particular spider is called the most dangerous spider on the planet. Write in the comments which of these spiders scares you the most. Next, I'll tell you about the most dangerous bugs and other insects you should run away from if you see them. Meloproscarabius. Meloproscarabius is an unusual name for a no less unusual beetle of the blister beetles family. The body of this beetle is clumsy and fleshy, and females have a considerably swollen abdomen that's only partially covered with elytra. These clumsy creatures do not exceed 4 centimeters in length, But you shouldn't laugh at these ugly bugs because these beetles are poisonous. If you take the beetle in your hands, it will protect itself by spraying an oily, unpleasant-smelling liquid. Once on human skin, it causes irritation, blisters like from a burn, boils, and in some cases can even lead to respiratory and cardiac distress. So it's better to keep away from the bug and admire it from a distance. And if you see these bugs, you have only a few seconds to run away. The bugs won't catch up with you and you'll be safe. Spanish fly. It's unclear why the Spanish fly is called a fly. After all, it hardly has anything in common with flies because it's a beetle. To be more precise, it's a blister beetle. These insects are widespread in the southern and central parts of European Russia, in Ukraine and Kazakhstan, where they live on plants. Plants are not only home for the Spanish fly, but also food. These beautiful bugs can quickly devastate a garden for the many plants, from olive and honeysuckle to raspberry and lilac. A colony of Spanish flies can devour a large lilac bush in as little as 24 hours. So these bugs should not be underestimated. At the same time, they should be feared because these bugs are also poisonous. They release a substance that irritates the skin and causes a strong allergic reaction. The consequences of contact with the Spanish fly are similar to those of the attack of the Meloproscarabius, because both of these beetles belong to the family of blister beetles. But despite the fact that these bugs are quite dangerous, many people catch and collect them on purpose, because these insects have become popular as an aphrodisiac. It's believed that the aphrodisiac of these bugs has great power. Reduvidae. Reduvidae can be called the hitman from the beetle world and among insects in general. It's a ruthless arthropod that feeds on insects and their larvae. As a rule, these true bugs are fond of ants. They attack ants, suck them dry, and then carry the carcasses of ants on their backs. It looks pretty creepy. The bug dragging 10 to 20 ants glued to each other is a terrific spectacle. Reduvidae drag ants so they can always have a strategic reserve. When a bug gets hungry, it feeds on an ant and then throws off the ant's empty chitinous carapace on the ground. But Reduvidae poses a danger not only to ants. Humans should stay away from this cruel killer too. A number of insects in the Reduvidae family drink blood and therefore bite humans. Reduvidae is responsible for carrying Chagas disease. After contact with the bug, a person may develop a fever, headache, enlarged lymph nodes, and other symptoms. After a few weeks, the disease progresses to a chronic stage. The disease can be treated well in its early stages, but it can be fatal if left untreated. Some people living in poor rural areas become victims of these bugs, so they're definitely not to be messed with. Firebug. During the summertime of the year, the firebug can be found in gardens. It's difficult to confuse it with other bugs because it has a rather bright and interesting coloration. Its pronotum has a black spot, wings are dark gray, and abdomen is red. The red and black color reminds of a fire truck, hence the bug's name. These bugs aren't large, growing only up to 1.5 centimeters. In addition, they have no chitin. So the bug shouldn't be particularly dangerous, right? Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's the exact opposite. The tissues of this insect contain cantharidin, a poisonous substance that protects the bug from natural enemies. And the fire coloring serves as a warning to birds, frogs, and other animals that may try to eat the bug. And while animals are aware of the danger of this bug, humans may not be. While in the garden, you may want to hold this beautiful bug in your hands to get a better look. You should never do that. Firebugs are predators with strong jaws, so they can bite humans, and the bite can be quite painful. Despite this, firebugs are useful. If the vegetable garden is full of insect pests that are part of the firebug's diet, it can help reduce their population and protect the crop. Unfortunately, not all bugs are as useful as firebugs. Some of them should definitely not be allowed into your garden or even the forest because they can destroy it completely. Stay tuned to see the world's most dangerous injurious insects that harm agriculture hard, causing multi-million-dollar damage. Let's move on. Asian longhorned beetle. The Asian longhorned beetle is a very small beetle. It's no more than 3.5 centimeters long and barely more than a centimeter wide. Nevertheless, the Asian longhorned beetle is considered one of the most dangerous beetles in the world because it can cause incredible damage to crops and forest plantations. This beetle feeds on a wide variety of hardwoods and is capable of damaging over 50 different species of plants, including maple, chestnut, poplar, birch, willow, ash, acacia, and many others. Of fruit trees, the Asian longhorn beetle prefers apple tree and mulberry. Both healthy and weakened plants are eaten by the bug. Trees can be destroyed not only by adults but also by small larvae of the Asian longhorn beetle. The natural habitat of these injurious insects is China, the Korean Peninsula, Vietnam, and Taiwan. In these regions, the Asian longhorn beetle causes much inconvenience, but it also stirs the pot at the other end of the world, in the United States, where it came by chance along with packaging material. In the USA, these beetles have posed an extremely serious threat to hardwood trees and caused multi-million-dollar damage to the country. The situation is similar with the emerald ash borer. These beetles are also small, up to a centimeter in length and several millimeters in width. They're native to Asia too. They inhabit China, Korea, and Japan, as well as the Russian Far East. And they were introduced to North America too, after which locals and people in government realized the power of these bugs. The emerald ash borer is a very dangerous agricultural pest. The victims of these bugs tend to be ash trees, which is clear from the name of the species. These bugs are so ruthless in their destruction of trees that later the plants actually cease to be alive. It's recommended to cut down a tree infested with emerald ash borers immediately and then burn the trunk with the roots right on the spot. Colorado beetle. Next, we have probably the most famous beetle in the world. I'm sure you've all heard of the Colorado beetle at least once. Why do you think it's so popular? Maybe the Colorado beetle is a great exotic pet, or it's so useful for the farm that it's become the talk of the world? In fact, it's the opposite. The beetles and larvae of the species feed on the leaves of plants of the nightshade family, making them dangerous agricultural pests. The beetle got its name after it devastated potato fields in the U.S. state of Colorado in the mid-19th century. The Colorado beetle loves to devour potatoes, sweet peppers, tomatoes, and eggplants. A whole army of these beetles can destroy a full crop, so the fight against these dangerous insects is very tough. Pest control measures include a number of complex measures, from the use of pesticides and special planting of plants mixed with crops unpleasant for the Colorado beetles to the introduction of predatory bugs in their habitat. Although the measures partly help, Colorado beetles still cause great inconvenience to farmers and gardeners. Common pine shoot beetle. Common pine shoot beetles belong to the subfamily of bark beetles. Bark and splintwood are the main specialty for these 4-centimeter long monsters. Common pine shoot beetles attack pines and destroy these trees in no time. Sometimes, however, they switch from pines to spruces, but this happens very rarely. Common pine shoot beetles attack important tree tissues, the wood and the splintwood through which water and nutrients are transported. The beetles attack the young leading shoots of pine trees and eat their cores, so later these shoots are often broken by the wind, which makes the pines look as though they've been shorn. Simply put, common pine shoot beetles weaken a tree's defenses. When the beetles attack frequently, the pines wither and become impossible to be saved. Moreover, these insects are not only capable of gnawing out the tree, but also carry fungal infections. To destroy these dangerous agricultural pests, trap trees are laid, or bait trees are arranged by cutting off the tops of some pine trees. Many of you have probably been bitten by red ants at least once in your life. The feeling's very unpleasant, isn't it? It feels like you've been pinched very hard, and the pain lasts for several minutes. But actually, a red ant bite is stroking compared to what the bullet ants that live in Central and South Africa do. No, they're not called bullets because they're fast as bullets, but because their bite literally feels like a gunshot wound. On the Schmidt Sting Pain Index, a bullet ant's bite is 4+ out of 4+, which is the highest index of any insect in the world. For comparison, the bite of the red ant is 1.2 on the same index. People who have been bitten by bullet ants said they felt as if they'd walked over hot coals or that they'd actually been shot with a gun. The bite of just one of these ants is extremely painful, so it's even creepy to think about what would happen if you were bitten by several of these little monsters at once. It's probably like being in the middle of a gunfight. As for the bite itself, its incredible power is explained by the fact that bullet ants possess the strongest venom. surpassing the venom of any wasp or bee. It's the strength of this venom that causes incredible painful sensations and makes these insects one of the most dangerous in the world. Maricopa harvester ant. Another ant, Maricopa harvester ant, is no less dangerous. It's a stinging ant species that has one of the strongest venoms of all insects. Maricopa harvester ants live in North America. They're especially abundant in warm states such as California, New Mexico, Texas, and Utah. There are also many Maricopa harvester ants in northern Mexico. These monsters are easy to recognize. Their reddish color and small size of up to 1 centimeter are the main features. But despite their tiny size, they're very dangerous insects. In 1996, scientists from the University of Florida conducted a study and found that the Maricopa harvester ant has incredibly toxic venom that's 20 times stronger than that of the honeybee. If you've been stung by a bee at least once in your life, you should understand how dangerous this ant is. People who have been stung by these ants say that the pain is comparable to drilling into an ingrown toenail, which lasts more than 8 hours. In general, the sensation of meeting with this monster is as unpleasant as possible, so it's better to try to avoid these ants. It's hard not to be afraid of hornets, and it's even harder not to be afraid of Asian giant hornets. Why? Because they're the biggest hornets on the planet. They got their name very deservedly. The length of some individuals can exceed 5 centimeters. The wingspan of these insects often exceeds 7.5 centimeters, and the sting is almost 6 millimeters long. Just imagine such a mega hornet. The biggest Asian giant hornets can be even larger than the smallest hummingbirds. As the name implies, the Asian giant hornets live in Asia, in China, Japan, Korea, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. But they can also be found in some regions of the Russian Far East and even in some parts of Canada and the United States. The hornet is dangerous not only because of its size. Size is only part of the fierce features of this monster. These insects produce highly toxic venom. So the sting of this hornet is much more dangerous and painful than that of other hornet species. Entomologists who have been bitten by these giants said that it's comparable to the sensation of stepping on a nail. But that's not all. This giant can sting many times. Its stinger doesn't break and does not remain in the victim. And even that's not all. A person who's allergic to bee and wasp venom is a potential victim of this insect and is unlikely to survive the stinging of the Asian monster. Some of you may have already thought that the Asian giant hornet is the most dangerous insect in the world. But trust me, it's not as dangerous as the other insects from this episode because size doesn't always matter. Stay tuned to learn about the tiny insects that transmit more than 20 diseases, see the cute caterpillar that you shouldn't touch, and learn about the insect that's the most dangerous on the entire planet. Let's move on. Fleas. Many people don't take fleas seriously. Probably they think that such tiny insects are incapable of causing harm. At most, they can cause discomfort. Not at all. It's the size of the fleas that's their main weapon. Tiny fleas are almost impossible to notice because they reach only a few millimeters in length. But fleas are known not only for their tiny size, but also for their amazing leaping ability. Some species can jump up to 18 centimeters vertically and up to 33 centimeters horizontally. It's as if a person could jump 60 to 70 meters at a single stroke. But the most important thing that many people don't know about is that fleas are disease carriers. These babies transmit up to 25 different infections and diseases, among which there are very, very serious. For example, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, encephalitis, salmonellosis, and even plague. In addition, fleas themselves cause 2 diseases in humans: polacosis and tungiasis. One jump, one bite, and man can catch several very unpleasant diseases, from which he'll then be treated for a long time. And in some cases, a flea bite can even lead to death. Therefore, we must fight fleas very seriously because, as you can see, these insects can be rightly called one of the most dangerous in the world. Scientific experiments can be very different. For example, scientists once bred super mosquitoes that were successful in destroying dangerous insects. But in 1956, Brazilian scientists bred a special bee, a hybrid of the African bee and various bee breeds common in Europe. The new species was called the Africanized killer bee. Sounds creepy, and for good reason, because the experiment got a little out of hand. A few years after the experiment, these bees modified, mutated, spread across South America, and began attacking humans and livestock. Apparently, the scientists overdid it and bred bees that were too aggressive. The insects attack humans and animals very violently and ruthlessly. These bees attack anyone who appears within 5 meters of their hive and chase their attackers for half a kilometer, sometimes even further. They also sting very painfully. So attacks by Africanized killer bees can often be fatal, like a plot for a Hollywood blockbuster. Puss caterpillar. Many of the insects from this episode are not only dangerous but also look quite creepy. But can this cute, fluffy caterpillar do any harm? It looks very unusual, like a mop of mottled hair. Someone may even want to take this creature in their arms, but you shouldn't do that. This caterpillar wouldn't be in this episode if it weren't dangerous, right? This is the puss caterpillar, often called the woolly slug or puss moth, and it's very venomous and insidious. Beneath the fluffiness, there are numerous spines through which the venom is released. These spines break easily, so they remain inside the skin after contacting with them. The puss moth's venom causes severe burning around the affected area, nausea, headache, piercing abdominal pain, and severe dizziness. And in some cases, contact with the caterpillar can even lead to lymph node damage and respiratory failure. Such is the deception of nature. Triatomini. Triatomini have another simpler and more understandable name, kissing bugs. They're called kissing bugs because they usually bite in the lip area, and they usually bite people. Believe me, this is far from a sweet kiss because these bed bugs are carriers of dangerous parasites that cause Chagas disease. After a kiss, a person may develop the first symptoms of the disease: fever, headache, enlarged lymph nodes, etc. After a few weeks, the disease progresses to the chronic stage. In the early stage, the disease is well treated, but if left untreated, it can lead to death of the patient. About 12,500 people die of Chagas disease each year. So kissing bugs can be rightfully called as one of the most dangerous insects in the world. The good news is that these bugs are not widespread. They're mostly found in the tropical regions of Central and South America. And finally, the main hero of this episode, the most dangerous insect in the world. Could it be another giant hornet? Or an ant with an even more toxic venom? Not at all. You all know what the most dangerous insect in the world looks like, because it's a mosquito. Yeah, that's the mosquito. The malarial mosquito, to be precise. Are you surprised that a mosquito tops the list of the most dangerous insects on the planet? I was surprised at first too, but now you'll see that the mosquito is rightfully at the top. The malarial mosquito doesn't boast large size or a painful bite, but it does boast the title of carrier of dangerous parasites, malaria pathogen. The mosquito is infected by an infected person or other carrier and then bites other people, spreading the infection at a high rate. Given that there are so many mosquitoes, the scale of the infestation is staggering. In equatorial and sub-equatorial Africa, where malarial mosquitoes are especially numerous, hundreds of thousands of people fall victim to them every year. And if you take the global scale, malarial mosquitoes infect about 200 million people every year. A large amount of these people die. If we take pallid statistics and look at the number of victims, then we can conclude the malarial mosquito is not only the most dangerous insect, but also the most dangerous animal in the world as a whole. Even many formidable and large predators kill tens, hundreds, or thousands of times fewer people each year than mosquitoes do. Did you know that insect hordes can number in the trillions? Insects may be small creatures, but in large swarms they can be incredibly troublesome. Next, I'll show you the most frightening insect infestations and invasions that were caught on camera. Take a look at this video. It looks like a tornado forming in front of us, doesn't it? The whirlwinds are still thin, but they're about to get thick and suck up everything in their path. However, there's no tornado at all. It's an unusual mosquito infestation. There were so many insects that they literally formed entire whirlwinds. By the way, this was filmed last year in the city of Bolshoy-Instok in Sverdlovsk Oblast, Russia. This phenomenon is familiar to those who are close to beekeeping. According to experts, such invasions and types of behavior are typical for representatives of Hymenoptera. Sexually mature individuals participate in swarming. It takes place for the purpose of dividing the colony into daughter colonies. Swarming is most noticeable and most often occurs in calm, sunny weather. therefore it's noticeable to people. The size of the swarm depends on the particular insect species. There are swarms of small insects, and therefore less visible, and swarms of large Hymenoptera with a large number of individuals. Bedbugs. Bedbugs are some of the most disgusting and unpleasant insects imaginable. This is probably because they attack us while we're asleep, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. A thorough and regular cleaning is thought to be enough to keep a house free of bedbugs, but sometimes the insects have plans of their own. Between 2004 and 2009, New Yorkers suffered a very powerful bedbug infestation. To be more precise, they suffered a series of infestations. In 5 years, the number of infestations increased manifold, with bedbugs occupying not only the outskirts but also the central and most famous buildings in the world's most famous metropolis. Moreover, in just 1 year, bedbugs were found in more than 1,000 schools in New York City, and many of the city's high-end stores had to close in order to carry out extensive disinfestation. Even the United Nations headquarters, some of the most secure buildings in the world, which are regularly monitored and cleaned, has been hit by bedbugs. The legendary Empire State Building was not an exception as well. Lincoln Center, the largest cultural center in New York City, was also affected. Interestingly enough, around the same time period, a similar infestation of bedbugs hit Paris. Still unknown what exactly prompted the insects to occupy the two famous cities, but as you can see, even such megalopolises are not immune to the attacks of insects. Giant Mormon crickets are a real problem for American farmers. From time to time, they form armies of hundreds of thousands of individuals and invade an area of several tens of square kilometers. Of course, the farmland as well as the comfort of the people is greatly affected. 7-centimeter-long crickets plow through the states, sweeping away everything in their path. Global invasions occur every few decades, but in the 21st century, cricket invasions are much more frequent and spontaneous. For example, in 2003, 3 American states, Nevada, Utah, and Idaho, experienced an invasion of Mormon crickets at once. The mild winter and 3 years of drought created ideal breeding conditions for these crickets. Mormon crickets invaded the states, invaded the highways, and devoured crops. Farmers sounded the alarm. American drivers also suffered. The enormous number of crushed insects actually turned the roadway into an ice rink. The frightening invasion of Mormon crickets has hit the state's economy. On top of that, the crickets resumed their infestation just a few years later. In 2006, history repeated itself. The crazy Mormon cricket invasions in America looked frightening and epic, but believe me, they were nowhere near the invasions involving billions and trillions of insects. Stay tuned to see these incredible invasions, learn how wasps and hornets took over entire states and provinces, and see an invasion that scientists mistook for a powerful thunderstorm. Let's move on. Grasshoppers. How can grasshoppers be dangerous? They just sit in the grass and stridulate, don't they? Generally speaking, they do. If the grasshoppers are few, that's fine, but in huge numbers, they can pest and harm an entire city. That's exactly what happened in 2014. Then the residents of Albuquerque, which is in the U.S. state of New Mexico, experienced the worst grasshopper infestation in years. Meteorologists were one of the first people to discover the grasshoppers. The insects formed a huge green army, which even showed up on the radar.
This is Houston. Say again, please?
Houston, we have a problem.
Initially, the meteorologists thought a storm was coming to the city. Only later they realized that it was not a usual storm, but a storm of green insects. The air was filled with these stridulating creatures, the height of the swarm reaching up to 300 meters in some places. As it turned out, the reason for the incredible invasion was the dry, warm winter. It didn't destroy the insects' eggs, triggering a grasshopper's baby boom. Fortunately, the infestation didn't do much damage to the city. Meteorologists even found a silver lining in it. Now they know what an insect infestation looks like on radar, so they can warn locals about such invasions in advance. Okay, an army of grasshoppers isn't the most pleasant sight, but it's not the worst either. At least grasshoppers don't attack people. But the same cannot be said for wasps. It's hard to imagine what could be scarier than an invasion of wild wasps, especially for people who are afraid of these insects. In 2019, residents of the U.S. state of Alabama were very unlucky. They experienced just such a large-scale invasion of striped insects. They didn't fly through the cities in swarms like grasshoppers in New Mexico. Instead, they built huge hives all over the state. Inside many of these hives were up to 15,000 wasps, about 4 times as many as a normal hive. Wild and dangerous wasps occupied the homes of Alabama residents, made hives right in cars, built them on the ground, and even crawled into mattresses and walls of people's homes. The worst part was that the wasps weren't just building particularly large hives, they were also extremely aggressive. Any Alabama resident who tried to remove a hive was stung by these wasps.
Man, this hurts.
Imagine what it would be like to have thousands of fierce wasps pounce on you. Fortunately, the wasps eventually calmed down and left the state. What could be worse than a mass invasion of wasps? Probably only a mass invasion of larger, stinging, striped insects, the notorious hornets. This was the hell experienced by the people of Shaanxi province in China in 2013. The hornet infestation itself sounds pretty creepy, but even more frightening is the fact that the province was hit by the largest hornets in the world, the Asian giant hornets Avessa mandarinia species, which exceeded 5 centimeters in length. Experts say the infestation was helped by the fact that winters in the region have become milder and summers have been hot and humid for a long time. This led to an increase in vegetation cover, which in turn caused a mad increase in the hornets population. In just 3 months, hordes of huge hornets stung over 1,500 people. About 200 of them ended up in hospitals. More than 30 ended up in intensive care units, and about 40 to 50 people became victims of the crazy infestation. To save the province, the authorities instructed firefighters to exterminate the insects. Firefighters donned special protective gear and literally scorched the monsters with flamethrowers. It was both creepy and epic at the same time. Locusts are annoying insects. They annoyingly buzz, chirp, and devour agricultural land. Even in relatively small swarms, these insects pose a great danger to agriculture. And when they gather in giant swarms of up to hundreds of millions of individuals, the catastrophe will be unavoidable. Madagascar faced this problem relatively recently. In 2013, this African country experienced one of the largest locust invasions in history. In late 2012, the government warned the local population that the locust population in Madagascar was rapidly increasing. I'm sure members of the government had no idea how much the populations would eventually grow. In early 2013, conditions in Madagascar were perfect for the locust population to multiply. By March 2013, giant swarms of locusts literally occupied the country. The armies of these insects numbered in the billions. That's right, not millions, but billions. The situation got out of control. A giant locust invasion affected half of Madagascar. The insects destroyed the crops of the main fodder crops, leading to starvation. About 60% of the country's population found themselves in very difficult conditions. The infestation destroyed over 60% of the rice crop, threatening the existence of many animal species, and caused enormous damage amounting to tens of millions of dollars. It's amazing what swarms of insects can do. Cicadas. Perhaps only cicadas can be compared to locusts. Like locusts, these insects do not make the coolest noises and can also congregate in huge swarms. To be more precise, they can gather in colossal swarms that are difficult to imagine. There have been many cicada invasions in history, but one of the most large-scale has occurred just recently. In May of this year, cicadas invaded the United States, and they were simply unrealistically huge armies. If the Madagascar locust armies numbered in the billions, there were trillions of cicadas involved in the invasion of America. Trillions! When'd you hear that word the last time? I'm talking about the so-called Great Eastern Brood. It's considered the largest brood of periodical cicadas in the Americas. The last time it rose to the surface in 2004, and now, 17 years later, it's happening again. Within a month, the insects were breeding, laying eggs, and dying. At present, the infestation's on the wane, but we shouldn't forget the offspring that the army left behind. Larvae have emerged from the hatched eggs and are already burrowed underground, waiting for the next invasion. I wonder if in 17 years we can expect an invasion of cicadas, which army will number in the quadrillions. Write in the comments, what do you think about it? Next, I'll show you the most incredible and unusual insect fights that'll give you the creeps. Bullet ant and cricket. The bullet ant got its sonorous name for a reason. No, it doesn't look like a bullet in appearance, and it's not as fast as a bullet, but it stings like a bullet. The sting pain of the ant exceeds that of any wasp or bee. According to the Schmidt Sting Pain Index, the sting of the bullet ant corresponds to the highest level. People who have been bitten by this ant have said that it really does feel like a gunshot wound.
You're right. Oh my god, it is really bad!
If the bullet ant has this effect on people, then what about the cricket? In this footage, we see the cricket and the bullet ant brought together in a duel in a confined space. The fight begins immediately. The rivals step on each other, the ant takes a comfortable position and tries to sting the cricket. It seems to have succeeded. The cricket starts twitching in pain, but it's not about to give up. Soon it recovers and continues the fight. At this time, another ant is placed in the mini enclosure, but it doesn't take part in the fight. Unfortunately, the cricket didn't stand a chance. After fighting for some more time, it loses its strength and dies. Numerous bites of the bullet ant couldn't pass without a trace. But the cricket should be given its due. Not everyone can fight so decently and bravely with an insect that stings like a real bullet. Millipede versus spider. Scientifically speaking, millipedes are not insects, they're arthropods. But traditionally, millipedes have been seen as insects, or as the closest relatives of insects, so it's worth including a battle involving a millipede in this episode, especially since it's pretty good. In one corner of the ring is an Amazonian giant centipede, a large millipede that can reach several tens of centimeters in length. In the other corner of the ring is a dangerous, venomous spider, but the Amazonian giant centipede is not so simple. Each of its 20 body segments has a pair of paws with modified claws. Moreover, the claws of one front pair of paws of the Amazonian giant centipede are connected to venomous glands. No wonder why this many-legged creature goes after a spider so confidently. It doesn't seem to want to fight and has taken a defensive posture, huddled in a corner. But there's no choice, it has to fight back. The spider runs across the small enclosure, while the Amazonian giant centipede tries to catch it. But it doesn't succeed. It doesn't manage to penetrate the arthropod's chitin. Soon everything changes. Waiting for the right moment, the spider catches up with the Amazonian giant centipede, and it finds itself in an uncomfortable position. It's not known how it ended, but it is possible that the spider won the fight after all. Grasshopper versus mantis. The grasshopper looks quite harmless insect, while the mantis is considered a rather formidable creature, because mantises, as we know, are predators. However, grasshoppers are not that simple. Contrary to popular belief, the vast majority of grasshoppers are omnivorous with a predatory tendency. In many ways, grasshoppers are similar to praying mantises. They're hunters which grasp their prey with their serrated front legs. So what happens when you bring them together in a duel? In this footage, we can see the battle between the grasshopper and the mantis. Surprisingly, the grasshopper gives the mantis a decent fight. So much so that the mantis even has to retreat. The mantis must have remembered the incident and come back for revenge. Mantis and hornet. Okay, we can put this incident down to the fact the mantis just had a bad day. Maybe it'd do better in a battle with a more serious opponent than the grasshopper. The hornet's a good candidate for this job because this striped monster has a terrifying sting and is a hard challenge. Here's footage of just such a battle. Even though the hornet is inferior to the mantis in size, it quickly dominates from above. The striped creature holds the large mantis down by pushing it down with its paws. Periodically, the hornet jerks its stinger. It's possible that several times it managed to sting the mantis, but in this case, the stinger definitely did not go deep. But it doesn't matter. After a while, the mantis is exhausted. The hornet triumphs and does what female mantises do to male mantises. It bites the poor guy's head off. Well, apparently mantises aren't as tough as people think. Did you know that ancient cockroaches were many times larger than modern cockroaches? And that previously there were huge winged monsters flying on the planet? It's a good thing those giants are long gone. In the final part of this episode, I'll show you ancient giant insects, which are now extinct, fortunately for us. Ancient cockroaches. Not much has changed in the life of these insects over millions of years. Cockroaches could rightly be considered survival experts because they appeared on the planet at about the same time as dinosaurs. Paleontologists are no longer surprised by 100-million-year-old cockroach remains. Moreover, they even know that these insects ate dinosaur droppings. But a new research conducted by the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology scientists has revealed something even more curious. Armed with a huge amount of genetic information, a team of Japanese scientists has reconstructed the biogeographic history of cockroaches. The scientists traced key evolutionary points and found out that these insects existed on Earth as early as 300 million years ago, which can be called a fossil record. Externally, ancient cockroaches resembled the modern cockroaches that we're familiar with, but were much larger in size. In prehistoric times, an adult member of this insect family reached an average length of about 9 centimeters. But how did they manage to spread throughout the Earth, surviving dozens of planet-wide crises? Similar to modern ones, ancient cockroaches had wings, but they couldn't fly long distances. There's a theory that during the division of the single ancient continent, cockroaches simply dispersed in different parts of Pangaea. This version of passive migration is confirmed by the fact that today many related cockroach species live on different continents. The fossil record is also consistent with this hypothesis. Researchers believe that the distribution of many other insects can also be traced back on the theory of continental drift and fossil data. Carbon spiders. The Carboniferous period, also known as the Age of Amphibians, began 359 million years ago and lasted for about 60 million years. Contrary to popular belief, the climate in the Carboniferous period was not hot at all. Actually, during this period, the Earth became noticeably colder, roughly like in the modern era. It was, however, during this period that the largest insects lived on Earth. Did the gigantism syndrome also spread to spiders? It turns out that ancient spiders had other advantageous features. Interesting fact, last year, archaeologists from the University of Kansas came across an interesting find: the remains of spiders that had not been known before. The ancient arachnids found in South Korea were called fire eyes. Further research showed that these organisms lived on Earth about 180 million years ago. But that's not all that's been learned about these arthropods. Analysis of the remains showed that the spiders had the ability to shine their eyes in the dark. The arthropods acquired this interesting skill by means of sickle-shaped eyes that reflected light. Even millions of years later, prehistoric arachnids still had glowing eyes, though they're long extinct and only fossilized remains remain. Dictynuridae. Have you ever heard anything about the 1-meter-long ancient dragonflies that hunted near ancient bodies of water? If you've never been able to imagine what these giants hunted, I'll give you that chance right now. Meet Dictynuridae, which inhabited our planet about 230 million years ago. The closest modern relative of these ancient insects are mayflies. However, don't be deceived. Representatives of this order became prey to the dragonflies not because of their modest size, but solely because of their sluggishness and peaceful disposition. Dictynuridae had a wingspan of about 43 centimeters. Mayflies and Dictynuridae are the only insects of their kind. They molt not only in the larval but also in the adult stage. Mesothyros. Scientists are confident that the creature, which they named Mesothyros, could boast a very impressive size. Computer analysis and reconstruction of fossils of this genus suggest that the wingspan of the Mesothyros was up to 55 centimeters. Moreover, 2 wings were not enough for flight. As a result, they acquired 3 pairs. The Mesothyros played an important role in ancient ecosystems. They fed on the sap of plants. Especially they loved ferns of all sorts, including seed ferns. If we compare these insects with modern ones, they're similar to bedbugs and cicadas in their ecological niche, although they're not direct relatives. These insects had a long, segmented proboscis with which they pierced the covers of plant parts, sipping the sap from the cores. Unfortunately, despite the rather detailed information about these creatures, scientists cannot completely restore their lifetime appearance. The found remains are too fragmentary. Who knows, maybe future findings will allow paleontologists to learn more about the 6-winged giants. In any case, it's probably for the best that such giants are extinct. Otherwise, today's world would be very different. It'd be much creepier. Fortunately for humans, not only are all of these giant insects extinct, but some giant arthropods as well. Stay tuned to learn all the details about these ancient monsters. They'll surprise you. Pulmonoscorpius. Pulmonoscorpius is one of the largest scorpions ever to inhabit the Earth, and the largest land scorpion known to science. Fossil remains of this species, which was first discovered by paleontologists in eastern Scotland. This giant scorpion reached up to 70 centimeters in length. So why can modern scorpions not reach this size, even when they live in food-rich regions far away from human civilization? The reason is the same as in the case of the spiders I mentioned earlier. In the Carboniferous period, the oxygen content of atmospheric air was higher than today. So at the time, the arthropods reached truly impressive sizes. Giant sea scorpion. However, the menace of the land, Pulmonoscorpius, also had a close relative that dominated the seas. Jaclopterus is a genus of crustaceans that was truly intimidating due to its size. The largest known individuals of this genus reached a record for a crustacean body length, about 2.5 meters. Comparable sizes were possessed by other arthropods, merostomes on average reaching 2 meters in length. The reconstruction of the fossilized remains of this genus allows scientists to surmise that the main weapon of the crustacean was claws, not jaws or tail. Given that a body length of this creature reached 2.5 meters, one claw of Jaclopterus could reach 46 centimeters in length. Although Jaclopterus was called a giant sea scorpion, paleontologists believe that it lived in large freshwater rivers and lakes. Fortunately, these ancient monsters became extinct 406 million years ago. Anyway, today's waters would not have made a home for them. Giant trilobite. This creature bore little resemblance to the computer models from the Jurassic Park movies. Isotellus rex is considered to be the largest trilobite ever to inhabit the planet, measuring about 70 centimeters in length and up to 40 centimeters in width. 500 million years ago, in the Paleozoic era, this fearsome creature lived at the bottom of the ocean, and its habitat was very wide. Fossil remains of this species have been found in many countries: China, Canada, the United States, Norway, Kazakhstan, Russia, and the United Kingdom. In spite of its frightening size, trilobites were the oceanic analogs of cockroaches. They were rather primitive but perfectly adapted organisms which had inhabited our planet for 300 million years. Anomalocaris. This arthropod was one of the largest organisms of the Cambrian. Externally, this creature looked like a mixture between squid and shrimp. Even the name of the species is translated as unusual shrimp. However, Anomalocaris differed strikingly from the modern shrimps. Take at least a huge number of sharp teeth this ancient hunter was armed with. Fossil remains of Anomalocaris found in the territory of China confirm the theory about the impressive size of this ancient arthropod. It could reach 1 meter in length. Unlike today's shrimps, Anomalocaris hunted only large prey. Its speedy movement in the water column was helped by growths on its sides, each of which acted as a separate fin. At the same time, Anomalocaris had the most developed eyes of all species of that period. Its excellent vision was provided by 16,000 hexagonal lenses in 2 faceted eyes. For comparison, a modern fly has about 4,000 lenses in its eyes. Well, that's it. Write in the comments which of the current inhabitants of the planet scares you the most. Thank you so much for watching.